Welcome back to Boy Band Break, where we encourage you to take a break from your day and join us in some boy band conversation. As always, my name's Diane.
I'm Chinzia.
I'm Sophia.
And I'm Lydia, aka Mama Lou.
So, if you know anything about this podcast, you know that we have a weirdly
Fascination?
vested interest in Lou Pearlman. We have done many an episode about him, including trying to summon his ghost via seance. So, you know, clearly we have some issues.
I love him, and I have a love.
But definitely go back and check out all of those things.
I love and hate him.
If you haven't done so yet.
If you're watching this on YouTube, we're going to link all of our Lou episodes there so you can check them out. So we have Lou Pearlman Seance. We have one just about Lou in general. We have
Boy Band
Con. We talked about that documentary that Lance Bass produced. So there's a whole bunch of Lou content that we have going on there. So look at it in the description.
Oh my God. Yeah. Anyways.
Thank you. Sorry, before we get onto this, there's just a couple of boy band things that happened this week.
Announcements.
So the Hanson tickets are now on sale. So if anyone's looking for a tour, they're doing spring, summer, fall kind of. So they have a whole bunch of things, and check that out. And surprisingly, new parent alert. So Nick Jonas and his wife Priyanka had a baby via surrogate. As of this time, we don't know the gender or the name, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So they just announced on People Magazine that more information will be coming, but they had a baby. So now all the Jonas brothers have children. So there's that.
That's very nice.
There's been a few more. Nick Carter from the Backstreet Boys has a few more conventions that he has signed up to do. So he has one in Connecticut, I believe, Atlanta, and then there's one in Florida as well. So
Florida, you say?
Yes, it's far from our condo.
No, damn it.
It's like an 8-hour drive from where our place is. But anyways,
okay.
Lots of fun things. So it kind of sounds like 2022, although so far sucky, seems to be on the up and up, and there's things to look forward to. So we're good. So now we're going to talk. Sorry, did anybody else have any other announcements or?
No.
Good. Okay. I don't know if you can even just show the YouTube page, Lydia.
I can.
So we found out yesterday that one of a great vlogger, Kendall Rae, is actually doing.
You found this out yesterday?
No, a few days ago. I don't even know. Somebody sent this. Diane, did you send this?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So it is called. So Kendall Rae. So it's KENDALLRAE. So she has 3.11 million subscribers on YouTube.
Nice.
I have a little brief thing about her. So the video we're going to talk about is called How Music Industry Snake Lou Pearlman Conned NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys. So let me just, so I tried to Google, you know how I always like to Wikipedia.
Yes.
This one is actually called Wikitubia.
Nice.
So I guess it's for YouTube.
Interesting.
That's cute.
So just a quick thing about her. So, and if you want to look her up, so it's Kendall Rae. And then on Twitter, it's Kendall Rae, ONYT. So
right here.
Yeah. So she has lots of, you can check it out here. So there's lots of stuff. So she started vlogging August 1st, 2012. So she's been doing this for a while. She is 28 years old. She was born in 1993. So when she said that during the episode, I was like, oh my God, she's so much younger than us, but whatever.
We're old.
I know.
Original channel was called Kendall's Place. It was popular. So she's a popular YouTuber. She created her main channel under the name Kendall's Place August 2012 before changing it to Kendall Rae. She uploads videos on various content like free thinking, true crime, unsolved mysteries.
I love her true crime stuff. Oh, and unsolved mysteries. Yeah, I like.
Yeah, I've watched a few of hers, and I like.
I know her. I've seen her before this.
Yes,
and she's pretty entertaining.
And she does it in a really I like the way that she does her
how she talks.
She has a really soothing voice, and she has a lot of information and stuff. So it's good. So, so unsolved mysteries, politics, world travel, space and ocean exploration, history, astrology, strange incidents, phenomena, and paranormal activities. Her first videos were called The 7 Deadly Sins of Beauty and Furry Friend Tag. Though she started making off beauty and makeup videos,
Yes.
Kendall later transitioned into reviews on conspiracy theories and later true crime. She also has a podcast that talks about true crime. Born April 22nd, 1993 in Boston. She is currently 27 years old and married to Josh Thomas. Apparently, in case you're wondering, she's 5'8" and weighs 56 kilograms. I don't know why they would know. But
Thanks.
anyways, she works towards creating awareness about sexually abused and exploited children. She often talks about childhood sexual abuse on her channel and encourages her viewers to take proactive steps to fight this social evil. She's been happily married since 2016. To Josh Thomas, he gave up his job to help her launch her channels.
Oh.
She plans to expand
That's nice.
her channels and start a podcast with her husband. She loves cats and dogs, several cats, nature lover. She also has bunnies because that was what they were showing. So there you go. So
We did see a bunny in the background of her talking in this episode.
yes. Okay, so we can.
All right. So we can
So-
stop sharing?
Yeah, you can stop sharing that.
All right. Go back.
So anyways, as Diane mentioned, we're a bit of Lou Pearlman aficionados, I would say at this point. So we're kind of like watching this with like a grain of salt, being like, is she gonna like? Because when she started it, she actually said she had no idea that any of this was going on. So she didn't know about anything.
Yeah.
She grew up in the 90s, as you can like. Obviously, she was much younger than us. So she was Team Backstreet back in the day. Obviously, like she listened to Backstreet Boys and sang Britney Spears and all that stuff. So she didn't really know all this behind the scenes stuff. So she's like, many of you probably don't know any of this stuff. And she's like, I'm sure some of you know lots of it. And so yes, that's us. So
Yes.
anyways,
I would like to say that we are certified boy bandologists.
yes,
All of us, I think, on this channel.
indeed.
And maybe-
official boy band expert.
There
as
we go.
Lana
Yes.
said.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
I'm going
There
to
you go.
dub ourselves that because I feel like who else would have a podcast going for this long if we
there's quite
didn't
a
know?
This
any-
is true.
Right. Okay. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anybody who's new, who's just like looking us up because you saw Kendall Rae, we've actually been podcasting for just over 3.5 years right now, and with weekly episodes about boy bands. So mostly focusing on 90s and 2000s boy bands, but we also do other things,
We do international boy bands as well.
international boy bands, album reviews, and yeah, lots of other things like that. Cooking. with
Yeah, we
boy
do.
band
Yeah,
type
boy band
stuff.
cooking.
Yeah.
We don't cook the men. We cook.
Check out our O-Town
their
interview. It was
best
very great.
recipes
So there
are.
you go. So-
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, do you want to get started with this?
No, I don't know. I don't even know who thought up this idea. They should take charge. Was that you, D?
Mm-hmm.
All right, D, go ahead, buddy.
Okay. Why can I suddenly no longer hear you?
Me?
Hello?
I couldn't hear Chinzu when she was just talking.
Oh, she
'Cause I
whispered.
whispered
'cause
and
she
I
was
said,
Oh.
I'm gonna go get my notebook because I forgot to
Yes.
get the
Oh, okay. Sorry. I saw her mouth moving and I was like,
No.
have I gone deaf?
No,
Right.
not you. You good, fam. All right, go ahead.
Anyways, okay, yes. So basically I saw that Kendall Rae had done this and like, okay, my thought process behind this is not like, if you're a regular viewer of this podcast, we have taken you through all this information before. She did not give any information that we did not already know.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple tidbits, I thought, but we'll go into
I
that.
feel like there's like one thing, but I feel like we probably already knew that and I just forgot about it. But-
So what I was more thinking was, well, I also think, and I don't want to like spoiler or anything, but like I think she got some things wrong, in my
Yes.
opinion.
Yeah, I thought she
Um,
missed a couple of things in
Yes.
a little bit of it. Yeah.
Well, she missed something she missed, but I was like, they're not really that important in the grand scheme of things.
True.
But some things were just like straight up wrong. And I was like, where are you getting your facts from?
Mhm.
And then-
She definitely watched the boy band con.
Yeah.
Definitely
Yeah.
stuff from that.
but I just think maybe she didn't understand it fully. I don't know. Anyways, so
But I
what I was more thinking is like, maybe if you heard this story via her podcast and you're like, oh, I want to know more. What I was more thinking is like, we could kind of vet her info, as Lydia pointed out, as so-called experts.
Yes.
we can kind of break down the information she gave and just say like, this is correct. Here's maybe where she was like missing some information, and here's where maybe it's not wrong, but maybe she just misunderstood what was being said, either in like Lance's documentary or like wherever else she was like getting this information from. Because we've like obviously done an extensive amount of research into Lou.
Yeah, that's
so
we love him and we love to hate him.
Yeah.
And we've always said it's very much a catch-22 with Lou. Like, as much as how evil he is and how like, oh, he did all this stuff and like was sketchy and all that stuff. Without him, we would not have had Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, O-Town, LFO, C Note, because people care about that. But so it's good and bad. And we honestly, and I don't want to say like Lou was misunderstood because obviously he was delusional, but also I feel like there's a lot of things that maybe
you're echoing.
He just got.
I'm noticing.
You weren't echoing for me.
Yeah.
Sorry, I heard echoing.
No,
Sorry.
I heard an echoey too.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were doing it right now.
Oh, it's echoing now.
Told you.
Oh, I don't hear it.
You guys all have earbuds in. We have earbuds in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's weird.
Am I echoing now?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
What is going on? Okay. So
How about me? Am I okay now?
I'm gonna close. maybe.
Why am I the only person that can't hear the echo?
Maybe your technology is great. That's
I'm just disconnecting a lot of. I'm disconnecting a lot of things. That
Lydia has a lot of things going on.
I have a lot of things open. That's what.
But I'm not hearing echoing now.
Well, it's because I'm closing a lot of things. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I probably should have done this before. Okay, all of my open things are closed. I think we're good now.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Much
I think. There's no echo now.
Okay, thanks, guys. Thank you. Sorry for the delay.
That's okay.
All right.
Okay.
Got a lot
Anyways.
in the studio.
Yeah.
So,
We love and hate Lou on this channel.
we love and hate Lou. We're just like obviously very interested in him.
Yes.
As part of like, why people are interested in crime podcasts in general, and whatever. He's like, it's interesting. It's how he was able to do all the things that he was able to do.
Feats.
Yeah, I just feel like he got in over his head and then just kept like going, and it was like, all right, I just got to keep getting this money, and then I can pay off these guys and do this and whatever. But yeah, definitely shady, and
Yeah.
All right.
So, like I said, I'm not gonna go through everything she said. If you listen to her, then you heard her say it, and if you listen to us, you've heard us say it a million times.
Yeah.
So, not necessary. Basically, she starts out by saying, well, not the most surprising part, but like the part that I was like, oh, she was like, I bet a lot of people don't know this. And I was like, oh, right. There are people outside of like the boy band bubble who like don't care about this shit.
And it's true.
They're young, right? Some of us were a little bit older, and they're young in age.
Yeah. I have a quote from the beginning that I really liked, and I wrote it down. I don't know if you guys.
Okay, go ahead.
So she was saying like she was born in '93. She didn't know like pretty much anything about Lou, and she said there's a lot of snakes in Hollywood, and that's why she likes to work with Canadians.
Oh yes, I did like that one. That was quite interesting.
I have no idea what this means, but yes, Canadians we are Canadian. We are on the ball, guys. So yeah, so I just thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, that's true. There's a lot of like sketchy people in the music industry and the film industry and all like the entertainment business. So so then she kind of just started off kind of like saying like how he was born in like Flushings and one bedroom apartment. So all the stuff that we already know. She told the story about the paper route.
Yeah.
And what are you doing?
Keep talking.
Okay, so she told the story about the paper route and how he bought it from some guy, and then he like did this thing with Dunkin' Donuts, and so I was a bit concerned at that point because I was just like, oh god, she thinks this story is real. But then like after she did like the whole like story and all that other stuff, and then she said this was all a lie, this did not happen, da 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 da. So I was like, okay, because that was like my first like, oh my god, is this going to be like one of those things where there's a lot of wrong things? But
yeah, I think the first part of her like. The way that I see that she did this in my mind is like she kind of did it in 3 sections.
Yeah.
Pre-boy band Lou, boy band Lou, and then like post-boy band Lou.
Yeah.
I think all of her pre-boy band Lou info, like before he started the boy band thing, seemed very on track. like very, you know, factual. I don't think she left out any important details. Like those are all the kind of things that you needed to know about him that kind of led up to like when he got to this, like, I'm going to make a boy band and this is how I'm going to make money.
So like the whole like blimp thing with the Jordache jeans and how that all crashed, and then the insurance money, and then that's when him and Alan's friendship broke up and all that stuff. So that all that exactly what you said, all that was like pretty much bang on from everything we've heard.
And the point is, like, you know, if you've listened to us, if you've watched the documentaries, there was that 2020 thing, like everything, all of these things all say the exact same thing, right? Like these are just facts that happen. You know,
I thought it was interesting though that she did not mention at any point in time the Art Garfunkel connection.
Yeah, she never mentioned that at all.
Something to be there, but ultimately, though, does that make a difference? Like, this is what I mean. Like, there's little things that, like, could you have mentioned them that because they're interesting? Yeah, but like, she has to keep her podcast an hour long, like, you know. And ultimately, it didn't really make a difference. Like, that was just like another thing that Lou would say to like show off, but like it didn't.
Like in the
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's not
really, like help launch his career.
That's what I mean. It's not a piece of the puzzle that like made him get like the big
I thought
thing.
it was though. I thought because he had a famous uncle, he's like, I could be famous too. Or
well, yes, that's what inspired him to do it. And then he also was using like his name to get him in, and he got him into that one gig and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so stuff like that. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think Art Garfunkel really did a lot to help Lou with his businesses and stuff. So I understand what Diane's saying. So, but it is an interesting tidbit that like I thought was interesting from his like early life that they didn't mention.
Yeah.
Fair. That's fair.
So then she gets into the boy band things. And I mean, the most glaring, obviously, thing that she left out to me is that, so she talks about how like he had seen New Kids because they chartered one of his like private planes. And that's why that's where he got the idea. And so like, you know, he went out and he was looking for talent and what.
But that story has never officially been confirmed, right?
No.
Because I believe right, and they had said that like New Kids doesn't remember this happening. But again, they wouldn't know who the heck they were renting a plane from.
How would they remember who they're chartering a plane from?
And then it would make sense because eventually when he hooks up with Johnny Wright, it would make sense that he would have talked to Johnny Wright during this time.
Right, because like
so
why?
It's like, it's a probable thing that it probably happened that way. So that's what inspired him to start the boy bands again, was like the New Kids on the Block, like, oh, these young kids have all this money.
And I mean, ultimately, again, whether they actually chartered a plane from him or not, it's pretty clear that he was inspired by them because like then why go after Johnny Wright and why like, you know, kind of pursue it that way. But the most glaringly obvious omission to me is that she just kind of says that like he found AJ and then Howie and then Nick and then Kevin and Brian and then there were the Backstreet Boys, and I'm like, whoa,
you missed so much history.
Because you're missing, and I know it's not important to like the
grand scheme,
but it's so interesting to us because before there was Kevin and Brian, there was Phoenix Stone and our good buddy Charlie Edwards.
Yes.
Got it.
And at first I was like, oh, she's just not going to mention it because it's not important and it doesn't really matter how they were formed, and she's going to go, she's like, she just needs to like keep the story moving. But then later, when she's talking about how NSYNC formed, she feels the need to mention Jason Galasso.
Yes.
That's how their name is NSYNC and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, so you're going to mention Jason Galasso, but you're not going to mention Charles Edwards? Like, that is such an interesting part of, like, how these boy bands form.
Actually,
I also,
and I'm just like, what? Like, did you miss that? Like, I don't know. See, now I can't remember. You guys can go back and vet me on this. Do they mention Jason Galasso in the Boy Band Con in Lance's documentary?
I don't think so.
Because I'm pretty sure they don't mention Phoenix Stone and Charles Edwards.
No.
Because I'm like, maybe she just got that piece of information from watching the movie and was like, oh, that's interesting, and then added it in. right?
Yeah.
But as an NSYNC fan, you'd realize that that guy's not on any of the album covers. What happened to this dude?
So,
Right.
but she did say that she was the Backstreet fan, right? So then I could get that. But I also found it was interesting because she mentioned Chris. So I was like, oh, look, Chris. But then she's like, oh yeah, Lou went to Chris and Lou got, and I was like, that is incorrect. That is not correct at all. So again, for those of you who are new and haven't listened, Chris and Howie were in college together.
Wait, sorry. Before you start this, if you don't know who Charles Edwards is and why we think that is so important, just to close that circle.
Yeah.
The Backstreet Boys were a band before they had Kevin and Brian.
About a year
One
ago.
guy was named Phoenix Stone. One guy was named Charles Edwards. We don't know a lot about Phoenix Stone. We know that he eventually quit the group and went on to be his own artist.
A solo artist, yeah.
And he's like still randomly making music, but it's obviously not very popular. And there was a guy, and his name was Charles Edwards, and he quit the Backstreet Boys to go. This is for people who don't know. I know you guys who are listeners know this. He quit the Backstreet Boys to go become a golf instructor at Club Med. Okay, so that happens, and then
the Backstreet Boys blow up.
The Backstreet Boys blow up, and he's like, "Oh shit!" Right? So then, NSYNC starts forming, and Lou calls Charles Edwards back and says, "Hey, I'm starting a new group," and he's like, "Cool." And so Charles Edwards is a part of NSYNC. And then quits NSYNC because things are not happening fast enough.
It goes back to Club Med.
Goes back to Club Med, and then NSYNC blows up. So, like, what?
It's crazy.
Lightning struck twice. And
we have an entire episode about this guy.
Yeah.
And, like, actually, it's, like, interesting because, like, you know, we know a little bit about his life, and like he ended up getting arrested later in life, and like
stuff, so
obviously
crazy.
His life didn't really go down the best path after all of this, but like it wasn't like, oh, it was for the best because like something great happened to him. Like, nope. But anyway,
it's like having two winning lottery tickets and losing them both.
Yeah, so it's super interesting if you want to go check out our Charles Edwards episode. It's mind-blowing, frankly.
That's a good word. Yes.
So anyways, back to Chris and how
so Chris and Howie were in college together. I think Chris may have also auditioned for the Backstreet Boys but didn't make it.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But anyways, he knew that Howie was doing this thing and whatever, and it was going well. So he asked to meet Lou Pearlman, and he said, "Hey, can I put together a group and come to you?" And he's like, "Sure, whatever, do this thing." So Chris is actually the one who did all the work and got Justin and JC and like whatever, and then Joey, and then so they had all that stuff going. They had, again, Charles Edwards was there for a bit, then he took off again because it wasn't like, I know a lot of people think this is like overnight success, but it didn't. It took like a good year and a half,
at least a couple years,
doing their boy band stuff, doing their like you know, the training and all that other stuff, going to Europe, doing all the other things, and
I wanted to confirm with you, Chinzia, because I wasn't 100% sure. She made it seem like it was Chris and then Justin and JC, and then Joey. But I thought Joey came before.
I thought Joey was for
Justin and JC.
Because they were besties.
I believe, like the way that it
because Chris and Joey like knew each other.
Yeah.
Sorry, do you guys mind if I just quickly? I'm gonna leave the studio and come back because Chinzia is having a lot of echo. I can hear it, and it's doing it right now. Okay, give me 1 second.
Okay, sorry. Please enjoy this brief intermission. This podcast is sponsored by no one. And if you would like to sponsor us and give us money so that we could talk about your products or your business. Hey, you know what? Maybe you are a listener and you have a small business. You have an Etsy shop. You have, you know, some kind of home business. Let us know. We have a friend. Her name's Pam. She makes cakes.
Cakes, yeah.
Why can't I speak? Mrs. Peach's Custom Cakes.
Yeah.
We're just going to shout her out for free because she's a good person. But yeah, like.
And we're back.
Give us $5. We'll do it.
Yes.
What are we doing for $5?
Shouting out your business.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? Let's do this.
H&R Block, is it time for taxes?
No, my idea was that if listeners have their own small businesses or Etsy shops
hell
or
yeah.
whatnot, that we would shout them out for
Absolutely.
very rock bottom prices.
Rock bottom.
Yes.
That's true. That's
Also, if you're looking for a boy band game,
true. Yes.
Boy Band Builder, the card game, good thing.
Yes.
Also, our listener Robin sells amazing soaps.
She does.
And we were shouting out Pam's business as well.
And Pam makes good cookies. Yes.
Yes.
Delicious. Oh my God. And like
And
we helped
cakes.
her, we helped her one time and
Right.
like I accidentally screwed up on a cookie and
She
like
really did. Yeah.
and then like because I put my whole arm into it and then she's like, oh, I can't sell this. And then I'm like, oh, and I hate it. And it was the
So
best
it's like
thing ever.
Lydia.
So you did it on purpose, did
No,
you?
I ate it. It had like sweater fiber in it. I'm like, I don't care. This is delicious. So yeah, anyways.
Anyways, back to what we were saying.
Yeah, it just felt wrong. Like my brain is now not functioning the right way that the band got put together, but it's definitely Chris
It
started.
seemed wrong.
And I feel like Justin came after JC. But
Yeah.
she's saying that
Yeah.
he took Justin. I don't know. But then she also called JC Shazaz.
Shazaz.
Like she
Oh yeah, she said
Yeah.
his name
Shaz-
terribly.
I was laughing a
in
little
like
bit
the
there.
weirdest way. And I was like, what is happening right now? But,
Shazaz or something
Shazaz.
like that. Yeah.
it was Shaziz. I don't know.
Oh, it was
It
awful.
strange. I was like, Shazay. But now I'm like, anyways. But like again, as you pointed out, neither here nor there. It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't. These are
Like-
semantics,
Yeah.
right? Like, obviously, it doesn't matter. It popped into my head when I was listening to it, and I'm like, I'm going to ask Chinzia because I could have sworn it was Chris, Joey, and then
I believe
Justin
so.
and JC. Like,
Yeah.
they obviously came together, and then Jason Galasso, and then Lance.
Right.
And if you're wondering, it doesn't really matter, but they got Lance because Justin and Lance had the same vocal coach. So
Mhm.
she knew Lance, and so she was able to like get him
She
to come
called
into the
Lance
band.
and said, "Hey, can you come?" And then his mom's like, "Oh, you're nuts, but okay, sure." And then he flew out the next day, and then they sang together, and it was like, oh.
Oh.
And then they were like already performing like a week later, and then it started.
Okay, the next thing that I think is just like wrong that she mentions in that is that she keeps saying that
Sorry. I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page, and yeah, I guess she's right. I guess that was the way. But Chris was the one who was like cold calling everybody and stuff, and then he called Justin, and then because Justin and JC were living in Nashville at that point,
Mhm.
and then then they came back, and then Joey, and then
And maybe I'm wondering.
and this is where they
Who knows?
mentioned Jason Glasgow is in here in the Wikipedia page, so that's probably what she's talking about.
That could be where she's getting her info,
Yeah.
which is fine. We do. Anyways, so the other thing that I thought was wrong is that she keeps talking about how NSYNC and Backstreet Boys were actually feuding and they actually
Yeah.
didn't like each other. And I'm like, no.
Incorrect.
They played
They
basketball together.
They are very vocal about the fact that they were never actually feuding.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that
There was a bit of a feud, but it was over a girl.
well, and it was all manufactured by Lou.
Yes.
So like NSYNC never really had any hatred towards Backstreet Boys until Lou started telling them like, "Oh, Backstreet Boys hate you. They
Right.
think
This
you
about
know
you."
they said this about you and blah 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 blah." And so they start feeling like, "Oh my God, these guys hate us." Like whatever. And then
They mentioned the whole Disney special, so
Yeah.
that's like how NSYNC blew up
And-
because
yeah, they obviously. And then
Backstreet
she's
Boys
talking
returned.
about how like they would refuse to be in the same room together. No.
No.
We wouldn't allow them
Yes.
to be in the same room together.
so that he could
Right.
continue this like
Because he wanted to continue his narrative that like, oh, they don't like you. You know what I mean?
and I'd also like to point out the fact, like I know if we have any younger listeners, at the time that this was happening, there was no social media. So like the only way that we could get information was from TV interviews and from
Magazines.
Magazines.
So the magazines, as you know, are not entirely factual all the time and whatever. And just like even other boy bands have even mentioned this in the past. Like, you know how there'd always be that thing at the back, like, oh, what is JC like? And it's like a page to fill out. And then like sometimes they would just fill in random crap because they didn't care. And then it became like lore, like, oh my God, Chris like only eats tacos served with a silver spatula and like this, like it's just like So there wasn't a lot of social media. There wasn't a lot of like sharing of like videos when you went out because we didn't have like camera phones. We didn't have that stuff. We had like the digital
film
camera.
and, like,
we actually at the beginning there was a lot of film cameras and stuff. So it's like you can't capture a lot of that stuff. No. And a lot of people didn't have internet. So it's just like, so I feel like a lot of this feuding and whatever, it just made it seem more dramatic because Lou's telling like, hey, do this, or let's put them on the cover here and them on the cover here. And it's like, oh, you know, so.
And it definitely worked in terms of influencing fans. Like, we, as a kid, I mean, and Kendall mentions it, and we definitely have talked about it and can vouch for the fact that, like, it definitely felt like
you cannot like both.
You can't like both.
No.
You know, which is marketing genius.
Yeah.
Because you're harnessing
it's the Coke Pepsi.
You're harnessing, the power of a fan base to be like, it's almost like teams, right? Like my team has to beat your team. Team Backstreet has to beat Team NSYNC. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
And so like you're buying, I have to buy more albums, I have to buy more tickets, I have to like vote for them more times.
I need more merchandise. I need more posters in my locker. I need all this other stuff like
to prove that my boy band is better than yours. You know, so it's brilliant to market that they're in a feud together, but they were not actually in a feud. So and any like bad blood that was between them was not actually, at least initially, was not actually real or true. Like it was manufactured by Lou. Like he was going around being like, "Oh, they don't like you."
Well, they were in their own bubbles at that point too, right? Because
they're like, very isolated too.
They're isolated. They don't know what's going on. They don't know anything.
They have their own houses, right?
Right.
Backstreet, I didn't think had a house.
No.
I think he only did that for NSYNC, and then eventually like O-Town and whatnot.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know that he ever made Backstreet Boys all live in the same house.
Interesting. Well, I know they were at his house a lot.
Yes, they mentioned that they were at his house a lot, but they don't talk too much about how we all lived at the same house. Like, the younger ones, like Nick was living with some of the older ones, but they weren't all living together. I didn't think.
Yeah. We would have heard about it if they were. They would have said something in an interview one time.
There was like one incident, I remember them talking about it in one of the interviews where like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC were scheduled to appear at some like charity something.
Yeah.
And Lou made it so that like the Backstreet Boys would enter like stage left and NSYNC would enter stage right. So they would be like on opposite sides of the stage so they couldn't talk to each other.
Wow.
Like he did not want them talking to each other.
Good visual effect though. Like
he didn't want them swapping stories.
Yeah. Is this the first Challenge for the Children?
It wasn't.
No,
I feel like, remember like they were on that song together, like both groups were on that charity
song.
We Are the World.
That one, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I feel like that was being performed somewhere at some like telethon or something. And he just made it so that like I think it was the boy band con because they were talking about how like, you know, NSYNC was being told like, oh, Backstreet's over there, you can't go over there, like they don't want to talk to you.
Lance was scared of them.
You know, exactly.
But then was that the incident where they actually did hang out afterwards to go?
No. So then what you're talking about is like what she mentions later, which is that at one of these like challenges for the children.
That was ours that they did it.
Maybe.
Yeah, because I was the last one.
Because we're Backstreet
they weren't there.
At that one?
No, they weren't.
They weren't?
They were not
just
NSYNC? It was just NSYNC.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
So there was some charity basketball thing. Was it all of NSYNC and then just some members of Backstreet Boys? Like not all of them? I feel like it wasn't everybody.
I don't think it was everyone. I think it was just like a few of them.
I don't even know if all of NSYNC was there. I think it was maybe just a couple members of each band. I remember the initial conversation was just like Justin and Chris and then like Brian and Nick, I think maybe. Yeah. And they all were like, ended up getting in a cab together to go to like wherever they needed to
go.
And they started talking and Brian was like, hey, like, you know, is this happening to you and this and this and this? And they were like, yeah. And that's when they started talking and realizing that, like, you know, whatever. And then they figured out that Lou was making up all these stories, trying to be like, oh, we don't like you and they don't like you and whatever. And they realized, like, oh, hey, I don't actually hate you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we're both getting screwed over. And the reason that he wants us to hate each other is because he doesn't want us to know that, like, basically he's screwing over both of us.
Yeah. It's like when your boss says, don't discuss your wage with your fellow employee. And then, but that only protects the boss. It doesn't protect the employees. Because in fact, when you do talk, you're like, you're getting paid how much? People aren't like, fuck you. They're like, hey, pay me more. Like, that's.
So it was kind of like they were saying, like, even when NSYNC was forming, they had them under a fake name. They had, like, the B team or something. They had some other thing. And then even when they first came out, they had no idea that Lou was managing NSYNC as well. He didn't find out right away. So, and then the Backstreet Boys understandably felt betrayed by it, of course. So there was there was like some animosity, but I don't think it was specifically towards the other band. It was more kind of like towards Lou and all the other stuff, which
The management,
She also talked about the check ceremony for NSYNC.
Yes, and that was also wrong because she mentioned that everyone was there.
Yeah.
And they weren't. She made it imply that Backstreet Boys and NSYNC were there.
But they weren't.
It wasn't. It was just
NSYNC, right?
NSYNC, yeah.
And that was in Vegas, and they had the families there, and it was the big dinner, and they thought they were going to make all this money. Then it ended up being, she said 10,000 in the book. Lance said 20,000 but then he also in a tweet once said, "Oh, I got the numbers wrong." So we don't know the exact amount that was given to them that day, but it was somewhere between like 10 and 40,000, something like that. Like it was less than 50,000 each. And obviously they had sold 10 million albums at that point. They had all that merchandise. They had all this other stuff. Then Lou was talking about like, and you have to recoup all these costs, which again is a truthful thing. Like he did put up a lot of money to get them a house and to get the promotions and all that stuff. But yeah, he was never transparent with them. It didn't have like records saying like whatever. And then like all this fancy steak dinners and all that stuff. He was just doing it. Like he bought one of the cruises, one of them said he bought them a car.
Howie,
I think.
Yeah.
Did he buy Howie a car?
He bought Howie a car.
And then he found out afterwards that he was paying for this car. Like it was coming out of his money and stuff like that. So I think he just got caught up in the whole like glitz and glamour of things and wanted to be like this big shot in the pond. I don't know if I wrote this down at that point. But he was also, I don't know, it was just like, it was, it was interesting. Then she starts talking about the other boy bands. And then Lydia and I were like, she's not mentioning O-Town. Like she
just never mentions them. Yeah.
So she's like C-Note and, Natural and Innocent.
But she did say making the band, which I thought that's
eventually
what she was
she
go
did
with.
that.
And then I was like, why did you?
But she doesn't mention O-Town. She talks about making the band and how he wanted to make this other band. And then just kind of drops it and starts talking about,
because even the picture was like making the band for when P. Diddy had it and stuff. So did she mention O-Town or no?
No, that's why I was upset. I'm like, what the? And she never even mentioned like the European success, because like later on in the story she mentions the LFO thing, and like if you don't mention the European success, that LFO story doesn't make any sense.
The LFO story makes no sense
because
she doesn't know, like she doesn't mention that they started off in Europe, they made their way here, then whatever, right? But yeah, like I was just like, you're not mentioning O-Town, but you're mentioning all these other bands. Like they literally had a TV show. Like it's like she did it, and it was also, season 1. She didn't take the picture of O-Town and put it there. She had this picture of 4 like dudes, like R&B dudes in like season 4. I was like,
well, because P. Diddy eventually took over that show.
Yeah,
right?
he did.
But like,
I'm assuming he probably paid him rights for that too, right? So he probably made money off of that. Because
who the hell knows? But my point is like, you talk about how like these people signed these contracts, these other artists signed these contracts, and it was so terrible. And I'm like, you're leaving out the best part of the boy band con when Ashley Parker Angel talks about how I purposely followed Lou into the bathroom.
Yes.
And I'm just like, you're gonna leave that out?
Like, I know, right?
That's like one of the best stories from that.
Seriously.
Yeah. Again, if you haven't watched the boy band con, it's amazing. It's great.
So it's really good.
Yeah.
Very entertaining.
But yeah, so So yeah, so then she's kind of like talking about that. Yeah, so
She was
I just
talking
like-
about, he was after he lost both the boys, like both Backstreet and NSYNC. He was making the new bands, and he was being inappropriate with the new
So,
guys.
One thing about sort of losing them, I think all the NSYNC stuff was factual, but she
the
in
Backstreet
terms of the
one.
Backstreet Boys, she mentions that he lost the case, which I don't 100% know if
No, they
that's
settled.
true. I think they settled because they paid Lou out.
They did.
They
paid
had to give him a lot of money.
Yeah,
But it took a while though.
It took them years
Yeah.
to like
Yeah.
actually
recoup financially.
recoup
I remember
financially. Yes, from having to pay Lou out.
Yeah, and then I
So-
think and then they weren't like really
I don't
signed for a
know-
while, and then they.
I was going to
yeah.
say, yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily that Lou won the case. Like, that's not correct. But I think they settled because the Backstreet
Yeah.
Boys definitely paid Lou out.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
I remember, yeah.
Because the 1/6 member thing was illegal. So I think he did maybe lose money in that respect. But they were still like signed to do albums with his label and signed to like whatever. He was still he legally they had signed a contract where he owned a lot of their like rights.
Yeah.
And they were just like, okay, here's
Clean
an
slate.
amount of money that no one's really clear about how much it was, but it was a lot.
Yeah, because they had mentioned something about how the boys had only made like $300,000 collectively, and that Lou had made like
10
10
million.
million or something.
Yeah.
Like, so, yeah. But I feel like the NSYNC court case is well more documented than
Yeah.
the
For
Backstreet
sure,
one.
for sure.
Yeah.
Sure, like the whole like the poster on my daughter's bedroom wall is of these 5 gentlemen and not of you,
Yes, I
so
know that.
they're
Yes.
in sync, like, you
Yes.
know, like, so, like, which is
Yeah.
great.
Like, yeah,
that was a
because I
great-
never knew about like the little loophole, right? That was a good one that she shared.
Which loophole?
What Trinzy just said about
Oh.
the poster of the 5.
Yeah,
and not
I
of
didn't know
Lou.
that
Yeah.
one either. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was crazy. And then what else?
So then she also started talking about the other scam things that he was doing. So she started talking about that talent agency, which was already under like.
oh wait,
investigation.
you missed the tanning beds.
Yeah.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yes. Oh my
And
God.
you
I'm
and you
sorry.
missed like something else about like him touching other people's.
Yeah, that's what Lydia's
Yeah.
talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
So
that's,
Lydia,
sorry,
okay.
that anything
sorry.
to do with sex is all. It's
Okay.
this guy. Okay, so so essentially, she mentions that he was starting to be inappropriate with the guys.
always making them take off their shirts so she
Yeah.
could check their muscle.
Yeah, I wrote sex allegations, but it autocorrected to sex alligators. It's not part of the
You know
story.
what? Maybe who knows? They're Florida, so it could be.
She said no one has ever come forward with sexual allegations,
Especially
but
from the main boy bands, like the Backstreet Boys
Yeah.
and the NSYNC and O-Town. No one has specifically come out with anything. In some of the other documentaries, like some of the limo drivers that he would used to hire like young hot drivers and then promise them that they would get like in a band or something. They've kind of said anything, but no one has physically concretely said Lou Pearlman like
has molested
raped me, molested
I
me,
know
whatever.
it kind of like I used to think I'm like, oh yeah, definitely no one's talking about it. But then like the other side of me is just like, well, these guys were investments. And they didn't want to. He didn't want to. His 2 money-making investments, right?
He doesn't want to fuck them over.
He didn't want to fuck them over. But like the other ones, I
Like
think
the
maybe.
LFOs of the world.
Right, that's
So
what I'm saying.
I am so glad she talked about that LFO thing. So
Yes, the Rich Cronin interview.
So if anyone
My
has not
favorite.
listened to this, the Rich Cronin Howard Stern interview is fantastic and has
Very
a lot
good.
of great content. Rest in peace, Rich. But in it, he tells the story about how this man in Europe wants to make LFO big in Europe, and he has to go there. But this guy, like she
Son of a
didn't-
bitch.
It's just like this horrible guy. He's gonna want you to touch his penis, or he wants to touch your. Anyways, he was just like because. It's just disgusting. It's horrible, but you know what? You can practice on me, like whatever. So LFO was like, no, because, like, no. And I feel like LFO is a little more like, I don't want to say like street cred or like
The light
They're from Boston.
They're from
a little
Boston.
More like
they're just like, no,
collar,
creepy man.
You know.
Yeah, that's right. I
They
agree.
don't put up with shit. They're like, that's gross. That's ridiculous. I'm not doing that stuff.
I think they
What are
put
you
up with
to?
the special massage though.
Yeah, so then like Lou minored in physiotherapy and has a special massage to make your muscles pop out or something.
think, yeah.
So I'm pretty sure Ashley has probably did the special massage because
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I would do a special massage on Ashley. So I mean,
But yeah, didn't they also say like, you know, they would like, you know, but yeah, also, and then the whole, you talked about the tanning beds. And
yes, yeah, he had in his mansion, he had tanning beds, and then in the tanning beds, he had cameras. And
Oh my gosh,
and
so
the control
creepy.
panel was in his room. So yeah,
That was creepy.
But then offered the boy bands that they could watch the girls in the tanning beds.
because he has
and
one
stuff
girl
like that.
band. What were they?
Innocence.
Destiny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So
was, they were managed by Justin Timberlake's mom.
yeah, so I mean, like, because he had the illusion of being a nice guy. Come to my house, make yourselves at home.
Well,
But he
even
was
like
watching
Howie,
everyone.
it's like the first time he watched porn was at Lou's house.
Like,
he
this
was
is-
playing like.
like it's just odd.
Did he say
Anyways.
it was the first time, or
Well,
just
no,
that like
they did it frequently.
They
I don't
would?
know. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just feel
and
that.
then this is when she mentioned. Okay, so you
Yeah,
first,
no,
and then
no.
this.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like because Lou was an only child and he was bullied on in school and all that stuff, he like wanted to surround himself with beautiful people and like be like the popular guy. And I feel like that's a lot of his motivation behind all of this.
Yeah.
Like the money, obviously, like he just in that he could flex and make himself look like he was like this big shot and like screw you, all these kids who picked on me in school, like I'm amazing, I'm surrounded, I'm a millionaire, I have all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So like that's, I feel like, is a lot of Lou's motivation here. I don't know if he actually like whatever, if he just like would watch these video cameras and jerk off. Like I don't know if he actually like did anything. And
Yeah, I
Aaron
think it was like
Carter
a
is
loner.
very adamant that nothing happened there. And
Yeah,
No,
she keeps mentioning Aaron Carter being
I
very
did like this.
emotional
I did like
about
But
Lou
also,
Pearlman.
also,
Yeah.
but
I
and
was
also
you know,
But I would like to say that first of all, Aaron's nuts.
still off the deep end. Yes.
Second of all, Aaron himself has come back and retracted that statement.
He did.
And now says that him and his mom never used those tanning beds and that he was never alone with Lou. And so, you know, he doesn't know if anything ever happened and what, but maybe you should ask other people. Maybe you should ask my brother, blah, blah, blah. So Aaron's a dick.
oh
Yeah.
my.
I honestly, I do feel like Aaron has a ton of trauma that he is not like whatever.
Walking
And
through,
Kendall
yeah.
had said that sometimes a lot of people, when they're in abusive relationships like this, out of fear, they're not going to speak it. And like Lou's dead now.
Well,
so
Lou's
it's not
dead, so, like,
but
I would
also
speak.
like it's suppressed memories or things like that, or they just like the way that they deal with trauma is they don't deal with it. So
Yeah,
who knows?
I
He
guess.
could have.
I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
Aaron?
Yeah.
no, Lou
Yeah,
could have
Aaron,
inflicted this on a whole
Who
bunch of
knows?
these people, and a lot of them just don't feel comfortable coming forward. Because even Lance said that after the documentary, his first documentary came out, a lot of the boy banders came up to him afterwards because he had asked a whole bunch of them to be in it, and a lot of them were like, no. But then other people were like, oh, they wanted to share their story. So he made it sound like there's much more stories that people hadn't shared at the time because they weren't sure how the documentary would play out. And then, so I think there are a lot of stories that like inappropriateness and like creepiness and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
so
surprised. Yeah.
Let's not defend Aaron, though. He's a dick.
no,
He is
I
a
mean,
dick.
all right. Sometimes he's a dick, but sometimes maybe he's all
Yeah.
right.
you know what? Obviously, shit in his life has caused him to be this.
Yeah,
way.
there's definitely
doesn't
definitely
have
unresolved
any-
trauma.
I was
Like,
gonna say.
like pre-craziness. Okay, I'll
You
give you
can
that.
say
Lydia.
that, yes, he experienced a lot at a very young age, and that
Yes, he
has,
did.
like, shaped him into being the person he is today. But the person he is today is a shitty person.
Yes.
Maybe he'll come around one day. Who knows?
I don't
But
know.
anyways,
He has to want to come around, and he doesn't. So
yeah,
it
yeah.
is what it is.
What I learned from this thing, the thing that we watched with the lady, I didn't
Podcast.
know that his purchase of the talent agency is kind of what started the
His downfall.
descent into madness. You know what I mean? Because like she said, like he bought the talent agency, but the talent agency was already being investigated.
So
For
this
fraud,
is one of those
for
ones where
fraud.
like, oh, we'll take pictures and you pay us $800 or whatever, and we'll take pictures and we'll send you out and you'll be famous. Which there are a lot of those. Like you've gone to some of them before, and
I know people who have fallen for that scam, yeah.
Yeah.
like you've gone to like the Sheraton downtown Hamilton, and they have a
Yeah.
whole room of things. And
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, no, we want to sign you, but you have to pay $800 for headshots. and,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
things like that,
exactly.
right?
And then
So-
you get all these like pictures, and they're like, "Yeah, we're sending them out." They don't.
No,
Yeah, right.
exactly.
So-
it's all a scam.
So that's kind of like, because that was his thing. He diversified and had a lot of different things going. Like he had the whole pension plan. He had this. So this Jacqueline woman from Florida had started some sort of investigation. This is the part that I don't recall. But then there was this Charlie Christ.
Attorney General?
Yeah, he was paying out the attorney general that was in his pocket. So
they were like buddies.
So that's why
so
he
that's
made
why
that.
it never really went, and it just she ended up dropping the case eventually.
Yeah, the investigation went away, and she was dismissed from that case.
Yes.
But that was the beginning of justice.
But that's him. That's Lou making powerful connections with people because, as she said, he's a great storyteller. He had the gift of the gab. He was like a jovial man who had that personality, that chameleon type personality, where he could like
convince you, right? Convince you to do everything.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And like, anyways, this is the post boy band stuff. Like now he's dissolved from working with Backstreet and NSYNC. He kind of has O-Town going, but like we all know that like O-Town had like a success right after making the band, and then kind of just
fizzled as well. Because again,
which is why I guess Lou had to like start going into these other ventures, because none of these other bands were really at the Backstreet and NSYNC level.
Right.
You know what I mean?
What I find interesting, because I also don't remember this part, is that his lawyers sued him for $16.5 million because he tried to get money back from like the boy band stuff, and that was in breach of their like going behind their back to do stuff.
Yes.
So his lawyers sued him.
Yes. In 2006, it turns out all of his investments weren't real. Like they did the picture of the airplane.
Which is always a good.
That's always funny.
Oh God!
And then he got sued. He swindled $300 million in the Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, so he made $300 million, $200 million from investors, and then $100 million from 11 different banks. So he would like, oh yeah, I have all these investors, give me money, da da da, and he would have it all over the world. He had like bank accounts all over the place. Although they did mention that he tried to pay off something once with this like Swiss bank account or something, but it wasn't even a real account.
Yeah, he tried to pay off like when he got sued from his lawyers, he agreed to a settlement, and then he's like, it's coming out of the Swiss bank account that didn't exist.
Right? So it's just like where. So this is the question. This is the $300 million question. Where is all of Lou's money?
This is the one we've always.
There's no way he could have spent it all. Like, yes, he spent obviously lots. He lived a lavish lifestyle. He bought all these houses. He like, essentially, they worked for him for like, but where he had to have had at least a few million left over. But then when he went to jail, he did.
Well, things were seized by the bank as well, right? So we don't know if they found all of it or not, right? Because he owed a lot of money as well.
And then, like, there was that one documentary in which she had a girlfriend this entire time, and everyone's like, what the fuck? So, like, does she have some of it? Like, who knows?
I'm looking at Johnny Wright. That's... And I... seriously, okay, I'm like, listen, guys, I think Johnny Wright has something. I feel like there's buried treasure. I feel like the boy bands need to come together and like make a movie about like finding Lou's
money somewhere in Florida. That's like
Lou's cash.
But
the treasure coast of Florida,
right? And then like it just like like we'll have like
a scavenger hunt, boy band scavenger.
Yes, and then at the end they find a treasure chest, but it's full of nothing, and they're like, "Don't you see? It was the friendship that was along the way."
It was the friendship that
peace on earth was all it said. You know, so
or it could just have like a blimp, and then they. Like a toy blimp.
God.
Maybe he has hidden blimps around. Oh, I also had to give a shout out to Kendall at the very beginning of it because I appreciated her because she's just like, how many blimps are there in the world? And then she Googled
in existence.
There's only 25. I was like, this is me. This is what I do. Just randomly Google shit for no reason.
That was nice.
Apparently, there are only 25 blimps left in the world. Which seems weird to me. Like, do people not just make blimps anymore? But yeah, so.
Oh, they're too costly.
Apparently, they cost a lot.
They're very expensive, is what she said.
Like, the internet is so cheap to advertise things on. Like, why would you spend all that money on a blimp?
A dirigible.
A blimp.
I don't know.
Anyways, and she also mentions at the end, like, how he eventually ends up getting captured. Which
always brings
I
felt like it was slightly off, but it was like...
She got the gist of it.
She failed to mention the little boy that he was found with.
Yes, apparently, yes, because I recall that in their story. So yeah, he's
like the FBI agents are eating breakfast and Lou's like in the background.
Oh my god, yeah, that was great.
Because the German tourist is like, hey, like, he's here. Yeah. They didn't believe him. They tried to fish it out, being like, whatever. And then, like, then they finally sent the FBI agents. The guy's like, listen, he's still here. He's still at the restaurant. And I thought the restaurant was at the resort.
Yeah.
She made it sound like
too.
it was like a random restaurant in Thailand.
No,
Like,
it was all
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's at the all-inclusive resort. But
Yeah.
and then, like, that they're just like, he's on the other side of a pillar and the FBI agents are on the other side. So, like, yeah.
Great.
That's a good one.
And I wrote Aaron Carter, big sad.
Yes.
She mentions Aaron a lot. I'm like, yeah, and I know why.
yeah.
I know why she does, because she
she's
did
young.
a special on him.
Because
She
did
did a
she?
video on him too that I watched. Yeah, it was great.
Oh, okay.
It was
Ah.
scathing, but it was great. So that's why she's
I also
like,
feel like she's the same age as Aaron Carter.
Yeah.
No.
no, he was born in 1987.
80s. Yes.
December 7, 1987.
Which means
She was
he's like
born in 90.
34.
And she was born in 93,
I
so
know
she was
this
like 5.
information.
He was 5, so.
His favorite candy bar is Twix.
Because
I
you were a
guess I
fan.
can't get it
that's
out of my
why.
brain. Yeah.
I used to buy Lydia Twix when she was sad because it was Aaron Carter's favorite chocolate bar.
I don't even know if that's fucking true anymore.
Yeah, who knows?
Who
Oh,
knows?
they make this shit up. It's like Chinzo
They're
was
like,
saying.
oh, we got to sell some Twix. Yeah, Aaron likes Twix, everyone. Go buy Twix. Or maybe it's because he's a twin, so that's why. Because Twix is 2 pieces.
Maybe, but he doesn't even talk to her anymore.
Yes, no.
Poor
definitely does
Angel.
not.
Poor Angel. Yeah,
I think
exactly.
Angel's living the life right
Yeah,
now. I
okay,
think she's
maybe.
fine.
All right.
Yeah, so Lou died August 19th, 2016, which was the day that Diane and I almost got into a car crash because Gina called me to tell me that Lou Pearlman had died as I was driving, or you found it.
No, I
You found
saw it on Twitter or something.
Yes,
I was like, holy shit, because you were driving and I'm just like on my phone.
That was
And I
also the last day I saw Aaron Lines. We had
And I
gone
was
to
like, Lou Pearlman is dead.
I also
And
shared
she
it
was
with
like,
the chat.
She was like, what?
I was like, oh, Lou's dead. And then we
then-
called Gina
then
from
we called
the
Gina from the
A&W
car.
drive-thru. We were like, oh my God, Lou Pearlman is dead. She's like, what? I'm like, oh, so sad.
And then she had to like go vet the info and call us back and be like, he is dead.
And then she was saying like all the boy bands were all like, oh, glad that he was gone or whatever. I'm like, but that's not true
not
either.
true.
Because we
No.
were watching the Twitter like things. So some of them, I feel like
AJ said it.
Said, I'm glad he's dead.
no.
Who did?
No one.
No one.
No, I didn't think so.
Some
Because
people were
that's
just,
like really, I think that's
No,
really
what
mean
I'm
to
saying
say.
is AJ sent out like a message saying, sorry he died. That's what I'm saying.
yes.
Did he?
I don't think he said sorry he died. I think he just said
Acknowledged it.
acknowledged that he died and said
Okay.
we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him.
Yeah, I think I remember
Okay,
that.
I think maybe
That was the
what it
overwhelming message from the boy banders that did acknowledge it. I'm pretty sure AJ acknowledged it and
Howie.
Lance. Howie did? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Chris,
feel like Howie did
A
as
few
well.
of them did, but not all of them. It was like they sent out their couple of representatives from each
From
band.
each boy band.
Yeah.
To kind of be like,
Yeah.
okay, we'll talk about it. But nothing was like,
Yeah.
like, screw you, rot in hell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, fuck him, blah, blah,
was-
blah. Like,
I was sad when he died,
which
too.
makes me believe that, back to, the creepy allegations. If that's somewhere in your mind, a lot of people put a lot of stock into the fact that in the Backstreet Boys documentary, which is called Show 'Em What You're Made Of,
Yeah.
also a good documentary,
Yes, that's
Yes.
they go visit Lou's mansion, or, what used to be Lou's mansion.
before it got demolished.
And
But all the stuff had already been taken out of it, and it was like,
Yeah.
But a lot of people put a lot of stock into the fact that Nick refused to go inside.
Yes. I remember.
And they're like, why did he refuse to go inside? Why didn't he want to go inside? And he just keeps saying oh, it's creepy. I don't want to go in there. Right. But also I think he still, when interviewed and whatnot, was like, oh, obviously he wasn't a good person, but he helped put us together. So if that happened to you, I think you'd be like, no, fuck this guy. You know what I mean?
Here's a
even if it's
sledgehammer!
somewhere in the back of your mind that you don't acknowledge, you're still going to be like, no, I'm glad he's dead. You know what I mean?
yeah.
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 That subconsciousness is gonna come
I
through.
am annoyed. I really wish that the prison warden would have let them interview him for that, because he died not long after.
No.
So,
But at the same time, though,
I
is
get it,
that
you don't
not
wanna give him
ultimate
special
justice?
yeah.
Because it's like when Tiger King blew up in fame, but he was in jail. It's like, well, this is what you've always wanted, but at the same time, you were such a bad person that is like, this is like the ultimate karma. You're famous and you can't even enjoy it. You know what I mean?
You don't
so,
have
like,
freedom to do that.
That's right. Yeah. So like for him, like he screwed a lot of people. So I mean, for him to get this last fame thing, wouldn't that have just been a slap in the face to all the victims?
But I'm just curious.
It would have been nice
Is
to
if
pick
they
his
had
brain.
talked to him, if he still would have maintained his innocence. Because even though he pleaded guilty for all these things, like I'm just curious if he would have shown any remorse, or if he was
Probably
like whatever, or
not.
like I needed to do this. Like I just wish that there was some sort of closure with
Yeah.
it, right?
I wish there was closure.
And I
too.
feel like that's what a lot of the boys too didn't have, this closure. Like
Yeah.
they didn't have like,
Yeah.
why did you do this? Like whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, no one is perfect, no one is great, and I just feel like there's things to everyone, and I just want to know, like, having been in jail and being like humbled that now he's like in jail, like was his...
Yeah, he wants to start Jailhouse Rock.
I would have loved that.
I'm also disappointed that she didn't mention jail. Like she mentioned like a cell phone and a laptop he wanted that he could like do stuff, but like Jailhouse Rock, brilliant name for a...
But doesn't that prove that he hadn't reformed and that he
No,
so he was still trying to like
kinda-
run scams inside jail?
Yeah, D makes a good point.
Like I feel like once you're a scammy type person, you're just always going to be that way. You're always going to be looking for the new thing. It's not easy to go straight and like
you can though.
work for the man.
You
and
can
whatever.
go straight. Like I've seen like countless like documentaries on Facebook of like people who used to be like, you know, like the art, you know, like the art scams where like they would like copy like Picasso and sell it, but like it was them painting it.
NFTs? No.
No. No, and then eventually they go to jail, they reform, and then when they get out of the jail, they're like, oh yeah, you know, that was my old life, type thing. So like the reform
But
is
if
possible.
it's easy money and if it's easy access to things afterwards, like you could fall right back into that again.
You absolutely can, but the point of prison is to reform you, is to teach you that
Exactly.
there are alternatives that can, you know.
And the only reason why he wanted to do that is because he owed $25 million. And he was sentenced to 25 years, which is the max
Maximum.
amount that they've ever had for fraud.
So he
And
made
if
history
every
that way.
million that he would pay back, he would get 1 year taken off his
I
sentence.
remember that, yeah.
So
Yeah, she didn't mention that
She
part.
didn't mention that either. But there's a lot of Lou that you can't fit into an hour.
I suppose.
Yeah.
And especially for
Even
the
us,
masses who
we're
really
already
don't
at an
care.
hour.
It's just, you know.
The point is, I think she did a pretty good job.
I think she did.
All things considered. And considering she knew nothing and was like starting from zero and like ended up, you know, covering everything, I think she did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
but
like again,
I
like
agree.
certain little semantic stuff, but which to the normal human being is not.
it's not important.
It's not
but, like,
important. Like
for boy band people like us, we're like, how could you leave out this?
I know, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. I feel like one day when the borders are opened and there's no PCR tests and stuff like that, I would like to do a road trip to Lou's grave, and I know exactly where it is.
okay, where is it?
Like that. I don't know. I was like, should I tell you guys? Like,
Who cares?
Is it secret?
well, I mean, I don't know. Like, if people are gonna desecrate it, anyways, don't worry. I found it.
People who listen to this podcast are going to go desecrate Lou's grave? I don't
No,
think so.
I don't know. Anyways, we can go on a little road
Do
trip.
people care that much about that?
I care.
You
I
know
care.
what? We could just put a little sign that says "Listen to Boy Band Break."
Oh my god, we could! Oh, that would be the ultimate revenge. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. Anyways,
it in
I tried to.
Florida?
Yeah, like it's in America. It's not here. Anyways, I also tried to find some of his valuables on eBay, and wasn't able to find anything
Well, it's
for the
been quite
seance.
some
Remember,
time since he's passed, so
has been quite some time. So
and he
let's
was
go.
also in jail for a period of time before that. So.
Also true. Okay, guys. What do you think? Is there any other last minute things we need to say?
I thought it was good.
So we thought it was
Good for
great.
her.
Thank you, Kendall.
Thank
Rae.
you.
That's great for like drawing more people into this boy band Lou Pearlman world, and she's definitely
Hopefully, Lance, if there is more information, will come out with like a part two of this or whatever. Lance is like a hustler, so you know he has twins, so he's gonna, you know.
Yeah,
although
exactly.
I literally just read and like sent it to you guys before we started recording that they're starting to write the movie about the girls.
about the girls, the Winnebago girls.
Yeah.
Cute. Oh,
Nice.
That's gonna be
Meredith
fun.
and Winter. I cannot wait for
nice.
that. And
be
that's
good.
supposed to be like a musical too, isn't it? Because wasn't the girl from?
I don't know. I quickly just skimmed the article, but it's starting to be written. So then it will go into production after that. So that's like pretty cool.
Awesome.
That's fun.
We'll do an
So-
episode on that one day.
Oh, for sure.
Lance is a hustler. If there's a second part to be made, he will get it done.
Yes.
And twins or no twins.
Yeah.
And if there's anything else about Lou that you guys want to hear, let us know. Leave us a comment. And
Definitely go check out some of our other Lou episodes.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
gonna have all that here. So
Thanks for taking a break with us, guys.
Until next time.
thanks for listening.
Bye.